Hey everybody, Chris Lindsay here, and you're listening to Pitch List. Join us on a deep dive into the heart of what makes writing songs and making music so magical. Let's find out what makes songwriters tick, and along the way, remember why we love music. Welcome to Pitch List. Hey everyone, Chris Lindsay here, and you're listening to Pitch List, the Songwriters Podcast. Before we get started, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss an episode. And for more exclusive content and performances, don't forget to follow us on social media at Pitch List Podcast, or visit our website at pitchlistpodcast.com. And now, here's the show.
Hey everybody, I'm Dana, the producer of Pitch List, and this week, Chris sat down in the studio with indie pop singer-songwriter Sasha Alex Sloan. Aside from her wildly successful artist career, she currently clocks in at over 9 million monthly Spotify listeners. She's also written tunes for Carly Pearce, Meghan Trainor, Katy Perry, Pink, Charli XCX, and many more. If you're not familiar, her music is lyrically poignant, confessional, and emotionally stunning, all wrapped up in tight pop production. In this episode, she and Chris talk about imposter syndrome, their shared love for pure songwriting and Karen Carpenter's voice, and more, including Sasha's upcoming full-length record and the first single, WTF, which is out now. Here's Sasha Alex Sloan.
So Dan and I were talking. I can tell when someone just writes out of their diary. Right? I mean, a lot of your stuff, and I think it's what works. It's what worked for Taylor Swift, and that's why people connect to you, right?
Oh, thanks.
Do you consciously do that, or is that just something you've?
Yeah. I guess I don't really think about it, so I guess not.
Right.
But my favorite type of songwriting and my favorite type of artists are just. I'm such a lyric person.
Right.
I never think about melody, and I think it's really funny when someone says I love your melodies, because I don't even think about them, because I'm so focused on the lyric. And that's just my favorite type of song to listen to, is just when I feel like I know the artist and I know what they've been through. And I really, for better or worse, try and keep every song I put out real to my life.
Yeah.
Because, when I'm on stage and singing something that's not real to me, I feel like everyone can tell I'm lying,
I think it's true. I have a daughter who's 14 going on 15. She's a huge music fan. She loves you too.
That's so nice.
Talking about you last night, and they have a sixth sense about what's authentic and what isn't. And they have no interest. And it's really so great, because I think fans are different now in the sense that they're being offered something that really has meaning for them. Basically, we were talking about it earlier. I think it's the removing of the radio filter. So no one's having to try so hard to give a peppy thing to sell diapers and tires,
Right.
So they're actually doing something from their heart, and it's connecting, and that's why people go to you. And I think it's great. I think it's really great.
Thanks. I really appreciate that. I feel like the only person listening to my music is my mom. Well,
that's not true. I've seen your numbers.
Yeah, it's a little trippy sometimes when I do. I also haven't played in so long because of COVID that I just am really feeling this like crazy disconnect of, why am I putting music out? Is anyone listening? Does anyone care? And I've been kind of struggling with that. So it's nice to hear you say that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, let's talk about that. That's interesting to me. I hadn't really thought about it. None of the performers have been out much. I remember there was kind of a false start, and the country guys had some bookings, and then they got rid of them again. I hadn't thought of it. So that's completely like wrecking your vibe, isn't it? Because you're used to making music and going out and playing.
Yeah, I put out my debut album in 2020. I think it was October. And yeah, I just never got to tour it.
Wow.
So I kind of hate that album because it just feels like this thing I worked on and then just kind of went away.
Well,
and for me, touring is really important because that's how I,
Right.
see the numbers online. It translates for me. You know, I'm not like a big radio artist. So
Right.
that is a really important part that I've been missing. And I'm actually really nervous going into this next album that I'm about to put out, because I just feel, I don't know who's out there, if anyone cares.
Yeah. But, well, your fans are out there.
They are.
And they're
I
going to
know.
still be
They
there.
are
And
out
I know
there.
it's totally normal to feel apprehensive, but they're going to be there.
Yeah,
And
they will.
you know what? They've been through the same thing you have.
It's true.
We've all
it was
been
a
through
global experience.
Yeah.
How many times? Well,
And
I don't want to do it again. But
Yeah, no.
how many times do you get to do that?
No. I was talking to my kids, my older kids the other night. It's like, I would have never imagined the last 5 years we've had. I would have thought, no. That sounds like something my great grandmother talked about. Backward, you know.
Yep.
It's really crazy.
I know. It's. I think everyone went through a really rough time. Mm-hmm. You know.
Oh yeah.
Even if like nothing in your personal life was going wrong, which that never really happens for anyone, the whole world was suffering. You know,
Oh, yeah.
everything got turned upside down, and it continues to get turned upside down, and all the division, and it was a really rough time.
It really was. For me personally, I kind of fell apart afterward. After when things got better, I kind of like.
That's how I am. I'm
Yeah.
strong during, and then I fall apart after.
Yeah,
So good times. Good
times. Good times. This is good time radio hour. And well, let's go ahead and talk about this. We're in total reverse, but I actually like it. It's good.
Yeah, okay.
You led me to this, so I'm going to go. So you have a new record. We've been Dana and I have been talking about it. You have a new record coming out, and when this podcast airs, we believe that the first single will be out.
Yes, it will. And then I think the album's coming out in May.
The first single is called WTF. Now, when you write WTF, what does that mean? I'm kidding.
Well,
I'm kidding. We know what it means. Do you want to? Yeah, what the fudge? So I can kind of imagine. We were just talking about it's been kind of WTF last 3 years. Is that what that's talking about, or is it romantic? Or can you give us a little bit of what the song's about?
I would say this whole next album is zero romantic.
Okay.
Really not going for commercial success here.
Okay.
So what the fudge? It's about, I mean, the whole chorus is just what the am I doing here? Like a huge, big life why question.
Okay.
I didn't grow up religious, and the past 2 to 3 years I've just been kind of questioning my existence, you know?
Okay.
And I'm a happy person, but
Right.
I'm trying to figure out what am I doing here? You know, what's my purpose?
Yeah.
What's everyone's purpose?
Mm-hmm.
So another uplifting song for me. It's kind of, you know, I feel like, so I'm about to turn 27. I'll be 27 when this is out.
Okay.
And I feel like when I first started putting music out, I was 20, 21, somewhere in there. And it was all about me.
Mm-hmm.
And my struggles and all that. And I that's kind of what I was just focused on, because when you're 20, you're like, who the hell am I?
Right.
And now that I've kind of figured that part out, I'm like, okay, I kind of know what I stand for. I know what I like. I know what I don't. I started looking more outward than inward. And that's kind of what this whole next album is about.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Do you think the current times helped inspire that too?
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, my first album was put out during a pandemic. And I feel like my next album we put out on the brink of World War III.
Yeah, hopefully not, but
Hopefully not. But it's not looking great.
It's not looking great. And I know from looking at your bio, your grandparents are from Russia?
Yeah, so I'm actually Ukrainian and Russian.
I wondered.
Yeah, so my last name's my last name's Yuchenko, so I'm technically Ukrainian.
I told Dana. I think she's Ukrainian. But
Yeah, but I guess, you know, if you're Russian, you're Ukrainian. If you're Ukrainian, you're probably Russian too. You know, it's
Right.
so mixed. But my grandfather was born in Ukraine, and my grandparents live in Siberia. Third world, no indoor plumbing, and that's where my dad is from. And so, this is kind of a long story, but
No,
you can edit it out if it's boring.
It's fascinating. Tell us.
But,
It's very topical. Tell us.
It is. So the way that my mom and my dad met, she's from Cape Cod. She joined the Army when she was 19 and became an interrogator in the Gulf War.
Wow.
and was assigned the language Russian. And so when she got out, she was like, what do I do? So she went to Russia to become fluent, met my dad. He was her teacher. Oops, I was created pretty quickly after that. And so he moved to America with my mom to raise me. And
How long have you been here in town?
So I started living here in 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not long.
Like really living here.
Okay.
I'd been making trips before, but they were like 4 or 5 days.
And where were you? I just need to get your whole history, and then I got my
Totally.
question. Where were you before here?
LA.
Okay, and how
LA,
long?
as I call it.
LA. How long were you in LA?
7 years.
Okay.
So I moved there when I was 19.
And then Boston before?
Boston before.
Okay.
Yep.
So you have no Boston in your accent?
No, I don't.
None.
I know. I don't know. I think it's just my mom doesn't have one.
Okay.
So
yeah, I grew up mostly in Texas, and my parents didn't have strong ones, so I don't either.
yeah. You don't have a Texas accent.
No, not much. I guess you're right. It's your parents. Okay, so you went to LA for a little chunk.
Mm-hmm.
Why come here? Tell us about that.
Yeah, I feel like the songwriters here are just incredible.
Yeah.
It's real songwriting, and there are amazing songwriters in LA, don't get me wrong, but it's just not the style of songwriting that I just never had sessions in LA where I was like, wow, we just wrote a great song. I always felt like we were writing okay songs with amazing production,
Yep.
And I don't care about production. I would say that's like a huge flaw of mine as an artist.
No, it's not.
But like my favorite artists are Regina Spektor. And I mean, her production was just basically piano and a dry vocal.
Yep.
And that's all what I wanted to do. And I just felt like I was in the wrong place, in the wrong rooms. And I was getting cuts as a writer, but I was never like, I don't know. I didn't feel connected to them, which you don't necessarily need to when you're writing a song with someone else for them. But I was just kind of hitting a point in my career where I was like, I want to do stuff that I really love doing. So I decided to move here, and I met some awesome writers here, and it just felt right. And there's no state tax.
That's true. Well, let's unpack some of that, as they say. Let's unpack some of that.
Yep.
Because this is interesting, and I know exactly what you're saying. And I think the reason is you're a lyric person.
Yeah.
And as far as pop music, in my opinion, just one guy's opinion, has moved forward as far as lyric a lot. Like you
I
hear
agree.
great lyrics in pop music now, where you didn't used to, especially like rock and stuff. They had terrible lyrics. But
Yeah.
I think country music had an effect
Yep.
that way. But still, it is groove driven, hook driven, and you seem like such a lyric person that that's not really doing it for you. And this is a lyric town.
Yeah, it is.
That's the thing. And it's now often country music, but that's not really the point. It's a lyric town. Everyone here, it's 90% lyrics, 10% music.
I totally agree with
In
that.
most country songwriting sessions, it is.
Right.
Because, well, the
You
music
start
part,
with a title here.
Yeah. The music part kind of flows out. It just kind of happens.
Totally.
Country music is not that adventurous stylistically, so you're not really having to, you're not going to put it in 7/4.
Totally. And
So-
there are amazing writers in LA, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
And I don't mean to, talk about LA, but
No, it's just different.
it's just different.
It's different.
I like walking into a room with a list of titles here.
Yeah.
And getting just absolutely pwned by other writers' titles.
Yeah.
Because they're such great lyricists,
Yeah. And you're a word girl.
Yeah.
You like words.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally get it.
So
I totally
it
get
was
it.
time, and not to mention LA is just absurdly expensive. And I just didn't
It
feel
is.
like spending that much money to live in a shoebox.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Nashville is beginning to catch up, but it's
I know.
still a reasonable place. If you were to someday want to have a family, it's probably, I would think, a better place,
I've noticed that Nashville is much more family oriented,
Yeah.
which I really like.
Yeah.
My boyfriend's in music too. And we always kind of, I don't know, I think this was like our own judgment of ourselves, but we felt like icky dating and doing music together. And then when we moved here, we realized like so many couples do music together.
My wife and I have done it for 20 years.
Exactly.
20, 30 years almost.
And it feels more common here. And
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. It just.
Oh, there's a lot. I was just looking at, what's her name? Ryan Hurd.
Yeah, Maren Morris.
Maren, yeah. She's more famous than him, but I know him. I don't know her. But whatever Ryan Hurd's wife's name is, she's a pretty good little singer.
Yeah, she's awesome.
She might make it.
Yeah, yeah. I
We'll
think
see.
she'll be okay.
If she sticks with Ryan, she'll do all right.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's a lot of music couples. You're right.
Yeah, it's cool. It's refreshing to us, at least, even though I know it's more normal here. But
Yeah.
it's cool to see that.
And I don't know, but it was a long time ago that I lived in LA, but it seemed like if you went to a party, I was early 20s. So if you go to a party and you meet somebody who's working on music or being an actor or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, oh yeah. And they're like, yeah, I picked up my kids today. People are like, what? You know what I mean? It's like, it wasn't done, you know?
Exactly. And there's
Is that vibe still there? It was like, it would
In
be
LA?
yeah, like it'd be unusual if you had kids.
it'd be very unusual.
Yeah.
It would be like a red
people
flag.
just like, why? Yeah, right. A red flag.
It would be like, why?
Which is so strange.
Yeah, I agree. Or like you're married. Oh, you're old. Mm-hmm. You've given up on your career.
Right.
You know, it's kind of.
It's kind of like that.
It is a little, and I felt myself kind of feeling like that, and I didn't like that about myself living there. You know?
Yeah.
It was like, it's so career driven.
It is.
And it's like, when I hang out with people here who do music, like we don't really talk about music.
Right.
And when I felt like when I was there, it was like my whole self-worth was based off of my numbers and my cuts and what people thought of me. And I didn't, that was really honestly bad for my mental health. So I was like, I need a fresh start.
Yeah.
So
I like Nashville too. I liked it when I came here. It's what my kids called chill.
yeah,
You know, it's
it is chill.
It's chill.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
like
chill.
everybody's pretty much nice. You know, the music business polices itself. Everybody plays pretty nice. If somebody starts
Yeah.
acting up, they'll be put back in their place. You know, it's
Totally.
like, people act right around here for the most part.
For the there's always
Yeah.
a bad
Yeah, but
apple
it's
or
more
two,
of a
but
family feeling here.
That's what I
it.
like. And yeah, and I have a yard now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and I think for your style, this is the place to be anyway. I mean, what do you call your style?
I don't ever know what to say when someone
Yeah.
asks me this question. Indie pop?
Indie pop. Well, it's like Taylor Swift kind of moved into the territory you're in later in her career.
Right.
A little bit. Sort of like,
I never like think about my genre when I'm making music.
well, maybe that's gone. Maybe
You
I'm
know?
asking the wrong question.
No. It's still very much a thing.
Yeah,
But I always find like, I was just talking to someone about this. I think genres are so stupid
yeah.
because it's like what? So you can have a playlist on Spotify? Like, who cares what it is, you know?
Yeah.
But I guess I also don't know what I'm talking about, so.
No, I think you're right, and I think you've actually identified a real thing. My kids recognize genre, but they don't really, as far as their listening habits. They're all
Totally.
over the board.
Totally.
When I was a kid, you were really segregated. You know, you weren't really
Right.
allowed out of your category.
And I think that has to do with radio, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
each station was a category, and
Yeah.
now you can have a million different songs on one playlist,
That's right.
and maybe there's like a rock guitar in a country song, and you don't notice that,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and you listen to a rock song, and I don't know.
No, I think you're right. And also, there was another of being a kid in the 70s. You know, there was cultural pressure to stay in your lane. Like, I was a rock kid. We were all like rock.
Right.
Well, secretly, I liked ABBA.
Right.
But I had to hide that
I
from my
love ABBA.
friends.
You know what? I always when I was like 13, I made fun of my friend Kara for listening to Baby by Justin Bieber.
Mm-hmm.
And she like pretended to hide it from me. And I feel so bad about that to
Wow.
this day because
Kids are mean.
I know. And I was such a snob and I loved Baby. But it was cool to hate that song.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
don't think there's as much of that now.
Oh, no, not at all. No, if I remember me and my buddies liked to just rock, rock, guy stuff.
Yeah.
But if they'd have seen an ABBA,
ABBA goes hard though.
cassette in my car, it'd just been like, what, you got a girl in here or something? Yeah, some girl left this in my car. I would never listen to this.
Right.
I think they're amazing. And I also love the Carpenters, and I had to keep that under under wraps too.
Karen Carpenter is my favorite singer of all time.
No.
Side note. Of all time.
I knew we were going to bond. I knew it. I could tell.
Anytime someone asks who my favorite singer is,
Me
it's her.
too. You're the only person I've ever known.
Same. Most people go, who is that?
Right. It's, especially your age. But I've never heard another person say that. She's the best female singer
100%
of all time.
Her tone is
recording pop singer.
Unbeatable.
Yeah.
And she doesn't. This is just my personal taste, but I hate when singers try to sing.
Me too.
I just think it makes me want to die.
It's a trick.
Yeah, her tone never pushes, never does fancy runs. She would never make it on American Idol, and that's why I love her. That's like my...
And if you want to talk about, and anyone listening younger, if you don't know the Carpenters, they've got a bunch of cheesy shit too, okay? You're going to see that immediately.
But you've definitely heard some of their songs.
Right.
You can't live without hearing their songs.
You've heard some of them. But some of the sad things that Karen Carpenter sings, you want to hear something just gut-wrenchingly beautiful and sad. Mm-hmm. It's her singing. There's a aching in her voice that's just breathtaking.
My boyfriend always makes fun of me because every time I get drunk, I blast the Carpenters in our house through our Sonos.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, I always call them the original Phineas and Billy.
Wow, that's great.
I mean,
they are.
Yeah, they are.
They are.
Because
because it was pretty cool when they came out. The brother was like the techno whiz with the track and the backing vocals, the 900 backing tracks and all those little studio tricks.
Yep. When they perform together and Billy's tone is obviously incredible.
Her tone is incredible.
Yeah, I see a lot of parallels there.
I wonder if she likes Karen Carpenter. I bet she does.
Yeah, I bet.
She has
good taste. I watched her documentary and I really fell in love with her.
Yeah. Me too. I watched it with my daughter. My daughter Lola's a huge fan.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan, honestly.
I am too.
Especially after that documentary, I was like, wow.
Don't go away. Pitch List will be right back after the break. Want to hear your favorite songwriter or artist on an episode of Pitch List? Email us at pitchlistpodcast@gmail.com and let us know who we should interview next.
I think it's easy to forget how much pressure comes with being that famous.
Yep.
And I really don't wish fame on anyone. I think it's
Seems to be pretty tough on people.
Scary thing.
Yeah.
And it's something you can never get rid of.
Right. And
it's kind of like a tattoo on your face.
There doesn't seem to be a way for it to not isolate a person.
Yep, I agree.
Just working in the music business and knowing some people that, being around this kind of thing.
Yeah.
It seems like what happens, even the best of them, I mean the best of them.
Yeah.
People that that are fantastic people. If they get in that bubble long enough where they're just not contacting reality, they just start to lift off the ground.
100%.
And you just can't, and it's not that they don't want to, but it's
inevitable.
They don't contact reality anymore.
Yep.
They're hearing bullshit or well-crafted bullshit and they just float off the earth, and then you can't really.
Mm-hmm. And my label, they're great, but they were like, don't you want to be huge? And I was like, yes.
As she's shaking her
my
head.
No, because that's I just love to make music, but like being air quote famous and having like a huge moment is actually kind of my biggest fear. So
that's probably why it's going to happen for you.
That's what everyone says, but I honestly, with my track record, I don't think so.
But no, talk more about that. That's fascinating. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think for me, like I work with artists and I see how well they do with the attention they get, and I just everyone likes attention. So it's not that I don't like attention, but I just get so much anxiety attached with attention that it's almost not worth it for me. But yeah, like I love going to Target and just looking like absolute dog shit, and like not worry, and just the pressure that comes with that, even from a musical standpoint, you have a hit and then it's suddenly like, all right, every song needs to perform like this, or you at least will feel that pressure of, what if I never have a big song like that again? Or I kind of like just cruising and
under the radar,
playing shows
Yeah.
and making music that I love. And I think it's a luxury, honestly, because there's no one's like, I mean, there are people who are like, I can't wait for, Sasha's next album or whatever, but it's not the whole world, which
right?
I love.
Well, yeah, they used to call it in country. The managers would talk about it. They would call it running for office. So once you're famous, you're kind of running for office all the time. You're a politician,
right?
Like you can't even if you just go get your
really funny.
prescription at CVS. You got to
Right.
dress up, and that's a tough part of it.
And you don't have to do that, but
Well, but no, I know women, men too, but my wife feels pressure. She confessed to me the other night she's a little bit sad that we're not wearing the mask anymore because she could go to Target and not do her makeup.
oh, I wear the mask still,
She
but
loved
because of that,
Yeah. Okay. Right. So that's a thing.
yeah.
So she's
And I
like,
feel like I'm much more attractive if you can only see my eyes. I read this article about how waiters and waitresses were getting tipped more because people couldn't tell how attractive they were.
oh, because they're,
Yeah.
I can only see the eyes.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. Fascinating. But yeah,
Well, that's
no,
a whole-
I love the mask. That was
Yeah. So you
actually
don't
my
have
favorite
to,
thing.
there
Yes.
are men and women, it's equal, who are completely built for being a celebrity.
Yes, and I think
Every
that's
part of it,
awesome.
they like it.
I
They're
envy
good
those
at it.
people.
Right.
Yes, I really do.
And you're saying that's not you're obviously more introspective and
I think I just love songwriting.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of stops there. And like anytime I have to do anything else, it kind of is like a stressful thing for me.
right.
But I love artists that love being famous. Like that's the
Yeah.
stuff that I love. Like when I was a kid, Britney Spears was my idol.
Yeah.
Like I love the big pop stuff. I love ABBA. I love flashy stuff too. So don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about this because this will lead into this. So, with your approach to your career, I think really probably works with you being able to get these big other cuts as a writer, right?
Big may be a stretch, but yeah.
Well, hang on a second. It says right here, Sasha Alex Sloan. That's you, right?
That's me.
Okay, let's get sure we got that all right. Let's see what it says here. Written hits for Carly Pearce, Meghan Trainor, Lauren Elena, Camila Cabello, John Legend, Pink, Charli XCX, Oh Wonder, Odessa, and more. Those are some
more.
pretty big names, darling,
Yeah.
for you to say what are you talking about? Those are huge cuts.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I think I don't know. I think I have like imposter syndrome but
Okay.
like times like 3,000.
I got you.
So it's hard for me to ever see myself as successful, air quotes. If people at home know I'm doing air quotes. But that's honestly, I think also my biggest flaw is how like that holds me back so much. When I walk into a room with an artist, I just feel like I shouldn't be there, And when I put my own music out, I feel like no one cares. So it's like this whole internal struggle I have.
So, do we need to buy you a ticket to like a Tony Robbins Unleash the Power Within? What's going on here?
That or like maybe on-site, a ticket to
An
on-site
on-site.
would be great.
We need some. I'm going to get involved now
Yeah.
because this is crazy. No, you know what?
No, but like,
I know exactly, and I'm sorry. People get mad at me for interrupting the guest.
No, you're
I'm sorry.
fine.
But I got to tell
please
you,
interrupt me before I
no,
tangent.
I want you to keep going. But I completely sympathize with every word you said about that. I never really, well, actually, when I was younger, I was an artist. I never really, I kind of stopped at a certain point because I
Yeah.
realized I was going to be a writer. I was better at that. But I didn't have your kind of vocal talent. You know what I mean? Like, not even close.
Very
So it's
nice.
not the same. But I get everything you're saying, 100%. You can love the shit out of music and not be that cool with some of these other parts of it.
Yes. And I don't know. I always just feel like, why would someone, this is going to sound, and this is not me fishing for compliments. This is genuinely just how I feel. Why would someone write with me when they could just write with someone else? and that's how I walk into every room, which is probably
Right.
a horrible way to approach my career.
Yeah. We're gonna have to do a little online. We're gonna have to do a coaching session
This
here.
is a
This will be
separate-
good for everyone to listen
this
to.
is a
Okay.
separate
The reason why.
thing.
Okay, it's one word: badass. You're a
Well,
badass.
that's very nice
Go
of you.
on YouTube
That's very nice.
and listen. No, you sing your ass off.
Well, thanks.
And your lyrics are incredible. That's why they would want you in the room. There are people like we talk about who are so well suited for all the other parts of artistdom. The long nights of signing
Yeah.
autographs and
Yeah.
all that shit. But sometimes those people are missing some of these elements of like very deep lyrics, like soulful thoughts, and some of these other things that you as a writer and a writer would bring in. So you're actually perfectly suited
Well, thank you.
to do that for those, especially if you like more pop.
Yeah.
Pop side of pop music,
I
because I
do.
do too. I always have too. I think you just got a dual track going on here. Possibly,
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
as an artist and as a writer, you just got kind of two, and your success as a writer kind of emboldens you as an artist.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I think I always call myself the queen of album cuts
Okay,
because I do go in there and I want to say something, and I think that's why I sometimes get weird about my songwriting career, because I'm not one of those people who has a million number ones.
right.
And sometimes that makes me feel like, no, I'm not a good writer, because there's so much of that online where it's like, this person had the most number ones this year. And,
Oh, yeah.
And I see that and I go, okay, cool. Like, that's awesome for them and I'm happy for them. And I don't have that. So what does that mean in
Yeah.
terms of writing for me?
Totally get it.
Yeah.
Totally
so,
get it.
Anyway, that's another.
Well, no, but I think we're a songwriting podcast. I think there's a lot of people listening to this podcast. We have a lot of people listening who are artist writers who are,
Right.
have their own career and also trying to get cuts. And
Yeah.
I think they will completely identify with what you're saying. Completely.
I think even, award shows are like triggering a little bit because I'm sitting there watching them going, all my favorite artists are there, but also like most of my favorite artists aren't there. And what does that mean about my taste? And what does that mean about society? And what does that mean? And it kind of goes back to the politician thing of you got to campaign,
Yeah,
and
you
it's,
do.
I always
Yeah.
said like, I would love to win a Grammy if it came with money.
Well, it kind of does.
I guess, but like, if someone was like, here's a Grammy and $1 million, I would be trying really hard to win a Grammy.
What if they said you could get a Grammy or $1 million?
$1 million.
Okay.
100%.
You're smart. I'm telling a lot of people listening might go, I don't know, but you're smart. And I'll tell you why.
Even 100,000. Like, what? I mean, I would,
Yeah.
maybe not 100.
I have a producer friend who's I consider to kind of be one of my mentors in the business, a guy named Byron Gallimore, produces Tim McGraw, Faith Hill, bunch of country stuff, and some pop. Great guy. He says, I keep my pride down in SunTrust Bank. And that kind of reminds me of that. It's like, I'd rather just have the money.
Oh my God. Yes.
'cause
Absolutely.
and you advise, sometimes we'll get in talks with younger songwriters about their publishing deals and the publisher's leaning on them to take less, and I always tell the same thing. I'm like, you know what? It's really cut and dried. You'll get every bit you can get out of them and you'll get your money and that's it.
100%.
And then I'll say this, you either get your money or you don't.
Yep.
No
Absolutely.
one gives a shit. All those people telling you to take less money because your family will be working in another company in 2 years.
Yep.
So you'll either get it or you
Oh.
won't, and no one gives a shit either way.
To be fair, we would not be sitting here if I hadn't signed this pub deal.
Yep. Everybody, it's good to have it in the beginning.
Yeah, it is good.
Yep.
And this is a long story, but I was at Berkeley. I was a freshman, not the smart Berkeley, the Berkeley College of Music in Boston.
It's the smart one for music.
Let's not get it twisted. And, Reddit.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is it's a very convoluted story, but basically when I was 18, I went to a sleepover and my parents were painting the outside of the house themselves.
Mm-hmm.
This whole house was very DIY. It was a lot. And so they got to my window. It was the window on the far left corner of the house, and they decided to paint the word dork with an arrow pointing to my bedroom window, like in massive letters. And so I pulled up back from the sleepover and I was like, wow, really? I think that was it. And then it rained for like 3 weeks, so it was just there. And then when they painted over it, you could still kind of see it because it had just set. You know, it paints like slightly different color when it dries.
So they just did it for fun, knowing that they would paint over it.
So I took a photo of it, and then like a year later, I was at Berkeley, and I was just starting to get into Reddit. And my friend was like, you should post that on Reddit. Like, it's perfect for it. And I was like, okay, cool, like whatever. So I posted that photo. It was like my parents painted our house, guess which bedroom is mine or something like that. I woke up, it was number 1 on the front page, and it had gone completely viral. Like everyone was posting, it was like, it became a meme. And then I was like, oh my God, this might be like my only like viral moment ever in my whole life. So I posted my SoundCloud in the comments. And then this guy, Steve Lindsay, who I'm in a JV with, his son found it. And then he called me and said, hey, do you want a pub deal with Warner Chappell? You got to move to LA. I'll give you one.
Wow.
And so I was 19. I dropped out of college and moved to LA and didn't know anyone and started writing in interesting sessions.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I got started. But if you're about to sign a pub deal and you're listening to this, you don't have to tell them everything you've written before.
No. They call that a Schedule A.
But
a person could forget that they had a song.
Yeah.
And just not include it on the Schedule
Absolutely.
A. It happens.
Not that anything I had written when I was 19 before this deal has made, I would say it's actually somehow made negative money.
Yeah.
That's how bad
I've got a couple of those.
But I do love my new publisher here, BJ Hill. He's incredible.
BJ's great.
And he also just understands my strengths and my weaknesses. And I love BJ. Mm-hmm. I feel so honored to have him taken me on.
He's a great guy, and he's a guy who's been here a long time. He knows what he's doing, and he knows how to handle writers, and that is a real skill.
Yeah, it is.
And it's getting more rare. Nashville still has some of the old school. You actually have someone you talk to who's your coach, who's your cheerleader, who can, it really makes a difference. I mean, it really makes a difference.
Yeah, I agree. So when I make music, it's very private, and this whole last record was just written with my boyfriend. And I keep telling everyone it either means that it's like great or horrible. I feel like there's really no in between when you just make an album with one person.
Right.
And
good.
Mike Elizondo produced a couple songs.
Yeah, I know Mike.
I love Mike.
Great guy.
Awesome. And Stuart Price, he produced a couple songs as well. But that's basically it. Oh, and this guy Chad Copeland, who I absolutely love. He has a studio in Norman, Oklahoma. Anyway, very small group. And I kind of write and then send to my label as opposed to, I just wrote the song, what do you think? Because I feel like that confuses me.
Right. That's good. That's good.
Yeah. So I'm very protective. I'm a people pleaser. So I wish that I was the type of person who, I used to send them every single song I wrote. And then I realized that was really bad and it was actually hurting the music. So I don't know. I love RCA. I love my team there. I actually really do. They've let me do my thing and they've let me release music that I want to release. I've never felt a pressure to put a song out that someone else wrote or that they thought would be a hit. So that's been great. I think it's just a really weird landscape right now for artists.
Yeah.
Especially after COVID. Like when I put an album out in 2020, TikTok wasn't really what it is now. And I feel so much pressure to be on that app and having a viral moment now, whereas before it was just artist development. And now I feel like that's going away. And for an artist like me, I think that's a very dangerous place to be because it's putting a pressure on me to be someone I'm not.
Yeah, I didn't really think about all this because you see, yeah, I get it. That's not a format that suits what you do.
No.
And you can always be creative, right?
Yep.
You can always be creative. So you hate to say like it's not suitable, but I get that. Yeah, man. I mean, because it's such a fast pace, the TikTok deal.
I feel so fortunate to have already started.
Right.
Because I do feel like I have this core fan base. And I feel like artists that are starting right now, it's really hard. And I feel like there are big songs that then no one knows who's singing them. And I think, you know, you have a number one song globally maybe, but you put tickets on sale for tour and maybe they're not selling like you thought they would. And I think it's just a really hard time for labels to navigate. And I actually do, I can't believe I'm saying this, but feel for labels. Mm-hmm. They're making a ton of money, but a lot of people who go to work at a label want the best for artists. And it's really hard to serve artists right now. And it's just a really
and it's a strange
thing.
Yeah, we've been transitioning out of terrestrial radio, which was the entire business model.
Right.
You know, and that's still kind of happening.
Yep.
So you got that, and I'm going to sound like a dumbass, but I'm just curious myself. How much music is breaking on TikTok?
I don't even know. Like,
Dana, is it a lot? I mean, it's big, right?
It is, but there are other ways. I don't know. I'm very confused by it because yes, part of me obviously wants to succeed, but I don't want to compromise how I'm doing that. But I also don't want to be like, oh, this is new and I've done it this way for so long, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
Because I think that's just not cool. You never win by doing that.
No, and it's just a platform.
Exactly. So I think it's just I've been navigating how to figure that out and be... Oh. I also just don't like the internet. I think people are really mean and I'm really sensitive. And even if I get 100 nice comments and one bad one, I will think about the bad one all day. Yeah. And it just feels like I'm in middle school all over again.
It's true.
Which I love not being in middle school anymore. Mm-hmm. So I think that's also another reason why maybe I should just be a songwriter again, because I don't have it in me to not care about what people think.
Right.
And so I think that's something that I've been working
to be
on.
fair, as a songwriter, you deal with rejection.
That's true, but it's private.
It is private.
And my publisher never tells me if someone doesn't like me. They just go, they're unavailable.
Right.
And then I go, oh, yeah, I guess they're unavailable forever. Yeah. And they live down the street.
Yeah, and your publisher says, no, they love the song. They're not doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
They decided against making a record.
Yeah, exactly.
Really? Okay. Yeah, that's true. It's private. You're on the right track, man. Listen, you just make your music, put it out, no compromise.
Yeah,
keep writing,
exactly.
And you've got fans, and you'll just grow your fan base, and don't limit yourself.
Yeah.
You definitely. I think personally, you've got this all figured out about which part of that world you don't want to take on and which part you do.
Right.
But don't limit yourself either.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
You could very easily have something that just broke in. You could have a big song in a movie.
Yeah, it's true. I've been waiting.
You could, you'd be perfect. I mean, there's lots of,
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity. And the way that TikTok is working now, there are songs that are blowing up from 20 years ago, 10 years ago. Yeah. So, I could put a song out.
They could put one of your songs on a cartoon
Yep.
You never, and I think you're right. It's like, the TikTok platform it's to be a mature person and just be like, I don't know about this, but it's just a thing.
It's just a thing.
It's just a thing. And you got to figure out creative ways to use it you're trying to connect with your fans.
Right.
You know what I mean? This is this is a service industry.
Totally.
And you're trying to serve your art, which is your take on the world, which they experience, and it helps with theirs. This is a thing between you and them. You're fascinating to me. Because you have such a beautiful pop voice and sensibility and just this direct connection to yourself, no bullshit. You believe 100% of what comes out of you. Thanks for listening to this episode of Pitch List. If you enjoyed today's show, please subscribe to us on Apple Podcast or your preferred listening platform. And if you want, feel free to leave us a 5-star rating and review. For exclusive content from this week's guest and more, you can visit our website at pitchlistpodcast.com or follow our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Plus, don't forget to let us know on social media what songwriter, musician, or music business professional you want to hear from next. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.